Hello and welcome to Horror Culture Show, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and the pieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And now, Dump Month is done.
Yes.
We've discussed the good and the bad of Dump Month. And we've entered the second half of January, which is Japanuary.
Yes.
Second year in a row.
We're halfway through January already, which is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, kind of. It's an awkward month, January, isn't it?
It is.
With Tuesdays.
Well, we're at the midway point, sort of, and we are entering Japanuary now, where we will be discussing Japanese films for the rest of the month. But before we get into that, it's time for another round of What's New with Chris and Gary. Best and worst films that we've watched this week. I don't believe there's a worst. But again, this includes TV shows as well. But even that, I don't think there's a worst.
No. I there hasn't been anything bad this week.
No, so I'd say my top. It's very close. I'm gonna give it. Oh, I don't know. I've got to pick one. I'm gonna pick one on the spot. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say Grave of the Fireflies.
Okay.
It's my top of the week. But when I say it's close, I mean it is fucking close. Grave of the Fireflies, absolutely devastating. First time watch. And yeah, if you want your night ruined, watch that film.
Yeah.
But it is a masterpiece. It is a perfect anti-war film. And it's just beautifully animated and perfectly written to show the devastating effects of war.
Yeah, very touching, heart-wrenching, very sad film, and it's no spoiler, but you know, it's very, very sad, and there will be tears probably, you know, from a lot of people who watch it. Fantastic week for films. We've really chosen well. My favorite film that we've watched this week is Ugetsu.
Yeah.
Fantastic, loved it. I just love Japanese cinema from that period, and yeah, just a bit melodramatic. It's a bit camp in places as well, and yeah, just fun, really fun.
Yeah,
but not fun because actually really sad bits as well.
But a film that I'm sure came close for both of us to be number one is Poor Things, which has finally been released in the UK.
Yeah, so our favourite new release, finally released in the UK for 2024, is Poor Things.
Yeah.
Really, really loved it. The performances were fantastic, looked amazing. I enjoyed the message of the film. I was really fully invested for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
You know, really fully invested, enjoyed it. Emma Stone can do no wrong in my eyes. Because I haven't seen that one where she plays a different race.
Is that a
do you
thing?
Remember that one?
No.
Yeah, apparently. I think it was called Aloha.
Oh God.
And she was, I believe, if I remember correctly, meant to be playing a mixed race character who was half Chinese. Yes. But the less said about that, the better.
But anyway,
Poor Things was fantastic.
And
Emma Stone, apart from that slip, can do no wrong in my eyes. I love Emma Stone. I love her energy on and off screen. She's very similar to Jennifer Lawrence in the sense that I feel like I would be good friends with her. Yeah. And if you're listening, Emma Stone, you know, DM me. Go out for dinner, pizza or something.
As phenomenal as Emma Stone was, and as much as it is a feminist masterpiece, I think something also needs to be said about the fact that Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe both provided career best performances as well. I mean, Mark Ruffalo was hilarious. Really hams it up so much to create this unlikable character that is just so fucking funny to watch.
Yeah, it felt like Emma Stone and Mark Ruffalo worked so well together that in any other sort of anyone else's hands, they may be fighting against each other for the attention.
Yeah.
But I didn't think that at all.
No.
Mark Ruffalo was just as hilarious as Emma Stone. I thought his character was hilarious.
Yeah.
And Willem Dafoe, yeah, fantastic. I think he looked great. I mean, the effects on his face were brilliant. And Willem Dafoe is, despite having a very recognizable face, is one of those actors, and I would put Gary Oldman into that category as well, who can be a bit of a chameleon.
Yeah.
And you do kind of forget it's Willem Dafoe at times. And obviously the special effects makeup helps with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always good. Always good. Old Willem Dafoe.
Aside from that, we started Echo, which I'm glad to report is a lot better than What If.
Yeah, I like Echo. Is Echo more akin to the Daredevil TV series?
It's closer in tone.
It feels, the tone. I think we watched a couple of episodes of the Daredevil TV series. So I feel like it's a little darker than the rest of the MCU, which I appreciate because it's something a little different.
Yeah, some great.
You haven't really seen before. I loved the emphasis on the Native American culture. Yeah, really appreciate that. Something completely different, thank God.
Yeah.
And I love when the MCU incorporates culture into the show. And it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural, and it teaches you something about a culture, and embraces it fully, doesn't play on any stereotypes, as it shouldn't. And I'm assuming there's a lot of input from the culture that they are showing on screen. Obviously all the actors are Native American. I'd like to hope, I haven't done my research, that the writers are too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Drag Race has continued being good. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion has started.
Yeah, love the reunion. I feel like it's going to get juicier.
Yeah.
They haven't necessarily spoken about the elephant in the room.
No.
Just yet. Old Reality Von Tease herself. So it's only going to get better. They're bringing Mary on board next episode.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge... I know people really, really love Mary. She's very candid, but I'm not a massive fan.
No.
I just sometimes I imagine if she spoke to me the way that she speaks to people, I'd probably cry.
It just feels like she doesn't want to be there.
But she's also like really rude to staff as well, like waiting staff, and I don't like that energy from my housewives.
We also watched our first documentary of the year with the disappearance of Cher Heights, a real powerful feminist icon who I had no idea existed until this film, which is the point of the film.
Absolutely. A really interesting character. Well, you know what I mean, woman. And I have to say, embarrassingly enough, I will admit, from the trailer, I thought she went missing. So I misinterpreted what I had seen before we went to see the film. So I thought it was a documentary, like a true crime documentary. And it wasn't. And I was pleasantly surprised because Cher Height was a fascinating woman. Really, a real strong woman. And, we love a strong woman on the podcast. And it doesn't mean all women have to be strong. But we really appreciated that.
Well, she broke boundaries.
She broke boundaries. She sold millions of copies of books. She absolutely fucking slayed an outfit. She was a model as well. Looked beautiful. And she didn't disappear. Unfortunately, she died in 2020. She didn't disappear, but her work in many ways disappeared. And the idea is that they're shining a light on this woman that unfortunately time forgot, who at one point was the name on everybody's lips.
Yeah.
Particularly in terms of feminism and feminist writing. And I think it's a real shame that she has been forgotten. I said to Gary afterwards, Jessica Chastain absolutely needs to play her. I think Jessica Chastain can get her next Oscar playing her in a film, a
Uh-huh.
biopic, and I think that biopic would work.
I think it's
I think
Greta
it'd be
Gerwig for
great.
me. I was
Yeah,
getting Greta
but
Gerwig.
you're getting it from the voice.
But also, she kind of looked like her a little bit as well, I thought.
I was getting just
Like,
the red hair and
yeah.
sort of pale skin. I was
Maybe they
getting...
can play her at two separate time periods.
Maybe. I think that's close in age, though.
Yeah. But it's also, I mean, The Disappearance of Cher Height was released at the most perfect time. You know, when Poor Things has just been released here in the UK, and everyone's talking about, oh, should we be seeing sex on screen? And then there's the Golden Globes with the real jarring misogyny on display. So this film about this woman who spoke so openly about sex, and particularly the female orgasm, female anatomy, and you know, being so ahead of her time and discussing gender roles and such, it just feels like such a good time to bring her story back to the forefront. When it's in many ways just as valid now as it was back then.
Yeah. For Cher, the female sexuality was at the forefront of feminism. For her,
Yeah.
that facet of feminism was female sexuality
Yeah.
and how important that is in equality.
Yeah.
And that women do deserve good sex lives.
Yeah.
And that is very akin to what Poor Things was saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And finally, for my last highlight is, do you have any more?
I don't know.
My last highlight would be The Quiet Family.
Ah, yeah.
The Korean film from the director of such classics as A Tale of Two Sisters and I Saw the Devil, Kim Ji-won. And yeah, it's a horror comedy about a family who just can't stop having bad luck whilst trying to run their mountain inn. And it's dark, it's funny, and I thought it was really good, which is quite fitting that I mentioned this because that brings me to today's film, the remake of The Quiet Family.
There we go.
Our first film of Japanuary. It is The Happiness of the Katakuris from 2001.
Seamless segue there, Gary.
Yes,
well
thank
done.
you. A spoiler warning is in effect from this moment on. We will be talking about this batshit crazy film from front to back, and please, if you haven't seen it, pause and go and watch it. Like, I urge you to. This is one of my absolute favorite films. For me, this is my idea of what a perfect film is. It is horror, it is comedy, it is drama, it is romance, it is fantasy. It is
musical.
It is an imposter pretending he's Queen Elizabeth's nephew doing a monologue about Princess Diana's death. It is honestly one of the most insane films I've ever seen, and you have to see this film. So please go and watch it before listening to this. It is directed by the master himself, Takashi Miike, who has directed 13 Assassins, Audition, Ichi the Killer, First Love, Visitor Q, One Missed Call, The Great Yokai War, The Great Yokai War Guardians, and many more.
Yes, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there was like over 100 films that he's directed. Yeah. Really very prolific. We've seen only the good.
I mean, yeah, I definitely seen a bad one.
Yeah, I think I've enjoyed all the films.
Yeah,
I've seen of his, but there are many of them, and
there are
some of them aren't known to be the best.
No, but I
fully... But we've been very fortunate so far.
I fully intend to watch a big chunk of them, if not all of them. It's written by Kikumi Yamagashi, who did Over Your Dead Body, Samurai Marathon, Zatoichi, The Last, Kung Fu Kid, Harakiri, Death of a Samurai. And they both sat down, Kikumi Yamagashi and Takashi Miike, both sat down, watched The Quiet Family, and thought, you know what this needs? Musical numbers and zombies and demonic cherubs. Yeah.
I was saying to Gary earlier when we were discussing the film, we'd watched the behind the scenes documentary, And I very much got the idea that some of it was on the fly. That not all of it, because obviously stuff like musical numbers and songs and such would have to have been pre-thought, obviously, before filming. But there seemed to be a way of Takashi Miike saying, "Well, you just play that however you
Yeah.
want to play it." To the
Mm-hmm.
actors. Just like I haven't really got anything specific in mind, so I feel like some of the sort of abstract nature of it comes from Takashi Miike's directorial style in terms of we'll just go with the flow a little bit, but it all
Yeah.
does kind of make sense
It
though.
does. It does. It's a miracle that this works as well as it does. Because it's so, and it's very much, we always say it. This is very much a film that could only be made in Japan. Um, it's just ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. The opening makes no sense for the rest of the film, and it just works. We need to get into it, but before we do,
Yes.
budget is the equivalent of $1.5 million. I don't know how much it made worldwide, but it is a cult film. It's gained a cult following over the years. Should we talk about who's in it?
Yes, in a section we like to call "Hey, I Know You."
So we have Kenji Sawada, who plays Masao Katakuri, and he was in The Man Who Stole the Sun, Mishima, A Life in Four Chapters, Samurai Reincarnation, The Zen Diary, Haruko the Goblin, and more.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, good films there. I don't know if he was quite famous before the film. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really know his history as an actor.
No, but he does a great job in it. I mean, everyone in this film does a
Everyone
great job, and I must
does.
say, the
Everyone does.
documentary, The Making of the Katakuris, is essential viewing because it's just probably the most wholesome documentary I've ever seen. It's just half an hour of people just having fun making this film and talking about how great Takashi Miike is.
Yeah.
That's literally all it is. And I don't think I learned anything about the film from that.
You absolutely get a sense of people enjoying
Yeah,
themselves.
there's not the most amount of trivia out there for this film, and I
Mm.
genuinely get the impression it's just a bunch of people getting together and having a fun time making a film.
Mm.
I mean, and that's how it comes across in the film, and it's how it comes across in the documentary, which is just makes it even more fun. Kaiko Matsuzaka plays Teru Katakuri, and she was in She no Tog, Fall Guy, not that Fall Guy, Lovers Lost, Seishin no Mon, Future Family, The House Where the Mermaid Sleeps, Legend of the Demon Cat, The Single Teacher, Miss Hayako, and more. The Single Teacher, Miss Hayako sounds like our sort of thing.
That does actually. Again, not too familiar with her work. Um, Potentially, I mean, these could be very famous actors in Japan. So one thing that we tend to over here miss out on is Japanese TV.
Yeah.
So potentially, if she was a very famous TV actress in
Mm-hmm.
Japan, that's never really made its way over here.
No.
Films, yes, absolutely. Anime as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I'm thinking, what's the Japanese equivalent to EastEnders or like a soap opera? But they're household names here. But I don't think anyone in Japan would know who Patsy Palmer was. It's
No.
yeah.
They know who the Nolans are, though.
They do. Yeah, the Nolans are very popular apparently.
Weird to think of. Shinji Takeda plays Masayuki Katakuri, and he is in Gohato, Pulse, Bishoku Tantai, Akeki Goro, Tokyo Eyes, 100 Million Yen Goodbye, Dr. X, The Serialist, Princess Go, and more. New Love in Tokyo.
Yes, I'm just looking at the poster. That's added to my watch list. New love, a new love in Tokyo. Life, love, sex, work, play. There are so many ways to tie them up. Yes, there we go.
And Naomi Nishida plays Shizui Katakuri, and she was in The Secret Garden, Nabi no Koi, Godzilla 2000, Haunted School 3, Atom's Last Shot, Village, Sudoku DX, Skeleton Flower, Around the Table, and more.
Um, Sudoku
Yeah,
DX, is that the
Girl from the
ring?
Ring. Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
many films in that franchise. So let's.
Would Tetsuro Tamba,
Yeah,
who played Grandpa, Jinpai Katakuri, he was in, and this is a great list, Harakiri,
yeah,
Kwaidan, You Only Live Twice, Ricky O, The Story of Ricky, Gozu, Three Outlaws Samurai, Graveyard of Honor, Message from Space. He appeared in one of the Battles Without Honor and Humanity films. He was in Assassination.
Nice.
Really, yeah, fantastic. Harakiri is one of my absolute favorite films of all time. So, yeah, very prolific actor. Just looking here, so many films.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get down what the guy who plays Richard was in, and obviously he's the star of the piece.
Richard.
So,
so the gentleman who played Richard, Kiyoshiro Imawano, he was in not too much actually. So he was in Sakuran, yeah,
yeah.
The Great Yokai War, and a few other Death Powder.
He should have had
not much at all.
He should have had a gigantic career with the performance he puts in this film. But let's get to it. Let's talk about feature presentation. So we start with a woman being served soup in a restaurant. Yes. You know, just having a bit of lunch.
It's a nice restaurant.
It is. In her soup, though, is a special ingredient. She finds a demonic cherub who grabs her uvula. Uvula, is that how you say it?
Uvula. Yeah. So it's that dangly bit at the back of your throat.
Yeah.
That I always thought with the tonsils, but apparently the tonsils are either side.
Yeah. You see Claire Richards' uvula in the tragedy video. The cherub pulls it out, says, "My uvula," and chases after it when it flies away. This is the opening minutes of the film.
Yes.
I mean...
So this is heart-shaped.
Yeah.
So we're in... what's it called? Claymation.
Yeah,
now,
we're switching to claymation.
Yes. This film has a tendency, when the budget doesn't quite fit what Takashi Miike wants to do, it turns into claymation.
Or maybe when it's just not possible to do.
Some of it, yeah. Well, no, I mean, you can throw somebody off a cliff, you know, but I suppose...
I'm not sure you could pull...
You're not going to get that poor man who was probably in his 70s at the time to dangle off a cliff. So, yes, I understand that.
I mean, he did the same in First Look with the one of the car chases. There's a bit of an animated sequence in that as well. I like the way he blends it together, and it works really well, and the animation just looks so good.
Well, he went on record, Takashi Miike, saying that the Union Jack bus from Spice World was a big influence.
Not quite. When the cherub catches up to the uvula, it eats it before the cherub itself is then eaten by a crow, which is then killed by a teddy bear. A snake then eats a wanted sign. Another one of the uvula stealing cherubs is born, and a bird shits on someone's head, who then throws a plank of wood at it and kills it before his dog eats it. And I swear to you, everything I've just said may have sounded like Katie Price on morning TV talking about her week.
Yeah.
But it may sound like what Tom Girardi got up to. But I swear to you, that is exactly what happens in this fucking bizarre film.
Yeah.
It is top-class entertainment. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't connect with the rest of the film.
I think it does.
Does it?
I think the film is about... First and foremost, it's about family.
Yeah.
But secondly, I think it's about life and death.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a beginning, a middle, and end.
Yeah.
And I think the opening sequence... I don't know why, a snake, a cherub, a teddy bear, um, uvula is chosen. But I feel like it's about life and death,
Yeah.
and about rebirth and the circle of life.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I didn't look at it like that.
I mean, in a batshit crazy way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not, maybe I'm delving a little too
I
deep
don't know.
into it.
Yeah, I just don't know how he sat there and just like thought of that
Yeah.
series of events, but I'm here for it. The Katakuris are a 4-generation family of failures. We've got the patriarch and shoe salesman Maso Katakuri, his ordinary housewife Teru, his father Jinpai, who threw the plank of wood at the
very
bird.
accurately as
Very
well,
accurately.
may I add.
From the ground, and it hit the bird.
Yeah, really good throw.
His formerly criminal son Masayuki, his divorced daughter Shizu, who is always falling in and out of love, her child Yuri, and their dog Pochi.
So Yuri narrates the film.
Yeah.
So it's kind of told from her perspective, which I think is interesting, because do we question what actually happened?
That's true.
In terms of it's so wacky and so out there that it's almost from a child's mind.
Yeah.
There's a few adult things, discussed in it and shown in it, but it's so kind of abstract at times. It does feel like it's been narrated by a child. And I watching the documentary, you see a kind of childlike glee from Takashi Miike when all this weird stuff's happening.
Yeah, it is kind of like if you sat a child down to watch The Quiet Family and said, "Tell me what happened in that," you'd probably get something like this.
Yeah, it's true, actually.
The family uses the father's redundancy pay to purchase a large old home situated on a former garbage dump near Mount Fuji that they have named the White Lovers Inn.
Yeah. I'm sure that means something else in Japan.
They have the intention of converting it into a bed and breakfast, since the road running nearby is supposed to be expanded up to the house, which would bring many guests and tourists. However, the road hasn't been expanded yet, and the Katakuris subsequently have no guests. First extra characters we get that make an appearance. It's kind of like a variety show. People just show up.
They do.
Throughout. And the first characters are a group of older lady hikers on a spiritualist training trip heading towards the B&B, but they start freaking out when there's an eclipse and they run away.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that, they're scared, the B&B, like there's something there, perhaps a curse.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what we get in The Quiet Family. Now, this whole film, remake, yes, also feels like a parody.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt with The Quiet Family, it was a very black humour, very dark, and for me, it didn't always work. But I do feel like the idea is that they thought they were cursed, but actually they were kind of in control of everything, and they made very poor decisions. Something happened by accident that they thought meant they were cursed. And then what came after that was all their own doing.
Yeah.
That's what I got from that. And I think with Happiness of the Katakuris, I feel like the supernatural elements are heightened.
Yes.
So it's not quite a comment on them as a family making poor decisions, even though they do make some poor decisions.
Yeah, this is like the super melodramatic version of The Quiet Family.
Yeah.
The fantasy version. That just makes, when you watch The Quiet Family immediately after this, it's such a quiet, subdued, and grounded film.
Pun intended.
Yes. And then this is just so over the top and in your face that it doesn't have a quiet moment in it. After all those events, we get the title card. And Yuri says, "This is a story of one summer's events for the family that I love." So whilst having dinner, this family...
is a story of a girl named Yuri.
Thank you. Whilst having dinner, the family watch a news report about one guest house that's cut labour costs by making animals do all the work, and now they're constantly fully booked. a bug crawls up his nose and he struggles to do the rest of the report. So they change the channel and a drag queen is given as a slave performance, to which the older daughter of the family, Yuri's mother, says, isn't that actress the same age as you, Mum? And Teru says, look at the state of her.
Yeah. Which well, it might be a spoiler, but we took her out of the running for Queen. I didn't appreciate that because I thought the drag queen was serving a look. I thought she looked great.
Yeah, but can anyone nail a karaoke number as much as Teru?
Exactly. Yeah, but this is she's. Oh, who said? Look at the state of her.
Teru.
Oh, I thought it was Shizui.
No,
oh, okay. No. Oh, okay. Oh dear. Wow, I'm in two minds now. I liked. Well, I say I laughed when the reporter says the pigs thought we could either work or become sausages. Which I feel like we all feel that way about work. You know, we either work or we become sausages.
Yes,
it's one or the other in life.
When a guest finally shows up, he sings "Song of Despair" in his room and commits suicide during the night. Now, the soundtrack in this film, absolutely banging.
Is it on vinyl?
I don't think so.
It should,
unfortunately. I went through a lot on the internet to try and track down the song names, and I think they're accurate.
Okay.
Where I don't think they're accurate, I've left it out just in case. But I believe this one is "Song of Despair."
I would assume so because he then kills himself.
Yeah. Suicide is not a funny subject, but somehow this film managed to make a situation revolving around suicide absolutely hilarious. And the Katakuris the next day, genuinely, I'm not exaggerating when I say this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. They enter the room in the most melodramatic way, complete with a choreographed dance routine, whilst performing the song Discovery. And they're doing poses. It's fucking stupid. It's so stupid. But it is my exact type of humour and never fails to make me laugh.
Exactly. When it comes to a dark humour, you have to be committed.
Yeah.
You can't half-ass it. You leave it to the professionals. Because too many people on the internet or, you know, on film or doing stand-up comedy, I won't name any names, but they think a dark humour is just throwing shit out there and hoping it lands.
Yeah.
There's a nuance to it.
Yeah.
You have to be fully committed. Not everybody can do that type of humour and for it to work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it works. You know, yes, it's a dark subject, but it's treated, you know, quite well in terms of the humour. The fucking song and dance number about discovering his body. You know, when he's singing this song about being sad, he starts to fly into space and then he gets interrupted and falls to the ground. It's so wacky and so silly and out there. And I feel like I'm going to keep repeating that throughout the film.
It's cartoony.
The whole, it's so cartoony that you can't help but giggle at it.
Yeah, which makes sense of what you said about the narrative being told from Yuri's perspective. I completely looking at it in a completely different way now. That does make sense.
Yeah.
After they finish their song, they're like, "Where's the will? At least leave a will, you bastard."
Yeah. Which I'm not really sure what that means.
But again, it was a throwaway line in the quiet families. They're like, "Oh, did he leave a will?" But this one's like, where's the will, you bastard? It's like everything is just so much more over the top.
But I don't know what will means. Like left them money, like an insurance thing.
Is that a thing?
Because surely a will would be for someone he knows.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they made the decision to save their business by burying the body and concealing the death, and they perform hiding the body whilst doing this. There's a song for everything in this film.
Yes.
Even hiding a dead body.
So during this, Shizui and Yuri, they've gone off, so they don't discover the body. So Shizui, we all make choices, but this
How dare
cardigan's
you?
a choice.
How dare you?
This cardigan's a choice. It's like a crocheted cardigan in a deep pink, but it's got like flowers down one of the sides, and it's not a good look. I'm sorry. Did you see in the documentary the actress was like, I think it's all right, and Takashi Miike turns around, oh, it's not really your colour, is it? And even the jokes in the film, because as she's leaving, her grandfather says, oh, don't you look lovely today? And she goes, oh, thank you, goes off. And her mother is the one to turn around and says, well, if she likes it, then what can we say? I'm sorry, it's a choice.
Wow.
We all make choices. Slayed. It's a choice.
Wow.
I like the dress underneath.
Well,
it's giving Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Well, it must be good because it makes someone fall in love with her. Shizui.
Not quite.
Sings a song about the magic of love before she falls in love with a man calling himself Richard Sagawa, a US naval officer with the British Navy.
Yes.
She has a fantasy that he sends her a paper plane with I love you written on it, along with a drawing of her and a bug, and they perform a song about the feeling of love together. And it is high camp.
I love it. It's a Latin-inspired duet. Really, really love it. I love this scene. I think the fact that the first thing she does is turn around to Yuri and say, would you be happy if you had a new daddy? Rightfully, as described, she does fall for men very, very quickly. I absolutely love the fact that he is called Richard. He is dressed as Richard Gere in An Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah.
That is the most random joke for a Takashi Miike film. The most random reference. Spoiler alert, we get another reference to The Sound of Music later, which is crazy to think of, from the director of Audition and Issue the Killer. This is the same year as Issue the Killer.
Yeah.
And we're getting Richard Gere, Lift Us Up Where We Belong references.
But what's even funnier is the fact that she seemingly believes that he's a white man. Like, it's the way he's like from the US Army and from the US Navy and the British Navy. Yeah. And she's like, oh my God, your Japanese is so good.
Yeah. He wants her phone number.
Well,
and how does he say that, Gary?
Well, he wakes her up while she's rolling around on the floor and tells her how great she is and that her husband's very lucky to have her, to which she says that she's single. And Yuri's like, Dad had an affair with a high school girl. So he's like, by order of Queen Elizabeth, give me your mobile number. It is seriously the highest of high camp, and Richard... we give out Biggest Queen at the end of the episode. Richard might be my favourite character in this entire film. He is just fucking ridiculous. He is so ridiculous. Best criminal. He's so bad at it, but he's the best criminal.
He also... Forgive me if this is correct, but he does look a lot older than her as well.
Yeah.
It is a bit like, why is she falling for this much older criminal? And I'm pretty sure if he was in the Navy, he wouldn't be allowed such long hair.
No, no. After a few more days without a guest, a sumo wrestler who was on Athlete's Singing Contest and his younger girlfriend show up.
His younger, very petite
girlfriend, yes. Richard calls Shizui whilst he's flying over Iraq to tell her how much he loves her whilst he's been attacked.
Yeah, he pulls a Glenn from Nightmare on Elm Street, tricking her with a tape.
Yeah, someone's calling.
Turns out he's neither an officer nor a gentleman.
No, we see he's in his room with a tape machine playing whilst taking the call. And it sounds like his jet plane's going down. It's given a matter of life and death. He's on his way out, and she's gutted. She's devastated. Meanwhile, the sumo wrestler and his girlfriend constantly have sex as soon as they arrive.
Yes, being young and starry-eyed, they only have one thing on their mind.
They do. Which leads to him dying of a heart attack and her dying underneath him.
Yes. To great shock, We don't realise that she's died underneath him until much later.
Yes. At first they debate chopping him up.
Yeah.
And they're arguing about the situation. And then they realise that she's underneath him. And they decide to bury them both. Just when Officer Miyake shows up, asking them to fill out a form to say who lives there, and hands them a wanted poster. Now, the guy on it, was it the guy who committed suicide? The guy on the bottom, or was it the guy from later on?
I think it's the guy from later on.
Okay. It's him.
Yes.
And Richard. In his Navy outfit.
In his Officer and a Gentleman outfit.
But none of the characters see this.
None
at
of them
this
pay
point.
attention to this.
Shizui didn't see this. Just shoves it on the desk. A group of people show up looking for something to eat, and the family are so happy to see ordinary people.
Yeah, they're looking for cake specifically, aren't they?
Whilst they're stood there like with dirt all over them with shovels in their hand, looking so suspicious, and they're like, "Oh my god, yes, ordinary people." Masao is so happy about the new customers to the point he leads the family into the musical number "The Road to Happiness and Health," a song about them wanting to run a guest house together as a family. My personal favourite of the songs on the soundtrack.
Yeah, so he's having a little reminisce about them moving into the guest house and how sort of hopeful they were. Masayuki, being the cool dude, wasn't quite convinced at the start, but the choreographed song and dance number helped tremendously, and he's on board by the end. As things do tend to in cinema, a choreographed song and dance number is more convincing than anything else.
It's so funny that they're acting like this, like considering the fact that 3 people have just died in their B&B.
Yeah.
And they've completely forgot about it now. They've got some people that want cake. They're doing a song and dance number. Masao receives a call telling him that the lake area will be dug up soon for the new road. So Teru suggests moving the bodies. But guess who arrives? It's none other than our Lord and Saviour, Richard. He shows up at the guest house and tells Shizui that he's thought about her every day before telling her that he wants to eat her, which caused her to faint.
Yeah.
In a bizarre series of events.
Well, he survived one battle, and now he's got another battle on his hands, hasn't he, Gary?
The big battle of Code Brown.
The battle of Code Brown.
He gets a room, he finds the first corpse's wallet, before literally shitting himself. Why? It doesn't matter, it's fucking hilarious.
Because nothing's funnier than those noises from someone's stomach.
It's so I really don't know why this is in there, but it's so funny.
No idea. It's never explained. It's not a battle, it's a war.
Yeah.
Because he may have tummy troubles again sometime soon.
Well, he's very brave, considering, spoiler alert, he shoves something up there that he's trying to steal. Yeah. And it stays up there for a long time.
This is one of those things that I do feel may have not been in the script to begin with. I feel potentially that whilst the scene was playing out, somebody, Takashi Miike or the actor, thought, do you know what would be good? Why don't I pretend like I really need a push in this scene? I feel like it needs something extra, an extra spice or something.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm very biased. I mean, if this was in an Adam Sandler film, I'd be fucking fuming. I'd be like, are you fucking serious? Yeah. Are you seriously think that's fucking funny?
Well, which one's the one where what's his name? Ben Stiller clogs the toilet. Was it Along Came Polly?
Maybe.
So he has IBS, and the joke is that he clogs the toilet, like on the first date, and still manages to find love.
I have no idea which one it is, and I'm glad to say that.
Along Came Polly, Jennifer Aniston plays Polly.
Yeah, then it would be. Assuming. Yeah.
She comes along.
She does. What's his on the show?
Yeah.
But in this, but as I was saying, in a film like that, you know, I'd be like, oh, come on, so lazy. But in this film, it's just so much going on. It's like, do you know what? That's fucking funny.
Again, toilet humor in the right hands works.
Masao and Taru perform the karaoke love song,
Oh,
complete with lyrics on screen for the audience to join in.
yes.
It's given 80s pop music video. Masao is in a suit, and Taru is just slaying the house down. Boots in that black dress.
And the long wig.
Stunning.
Curly hair. Absolutely stunning. She sings of having no regrets despite the difficulties they have faced following their dreams. And this is probably my favourite song from the film.
Yeah, it's my favourite musical number.
Mm.
As far as the music video goes, it is just ridiculously camp.
Yeah,
and
I love it.
I'm here for it. We see how they met, whilst Masao is shining shoes. He's superimposed onto it in an army outfit at points for some reason.
Yeah.
But it's
I'm
amazing.
assuming that's no. His redundancy wouldn't be from the army, would it?
I don't think so.
It'd be a pension.
There's any
wouldn't it?
reason for him to be in the outfit. But,
Yeah.
Richard tells Chizui that he is the nephew. Brace yourself. Of Queen Elizabeth II herself.
Yeah.
And then he gives us a monologue. Out of nowhere, he remembers cuddles with Auntie Elizabeth. And he's like, Diana, if only I'd been there. She often called me for advice. I said to Charles, you must treasure your wife. The crash happened when I was away on duty. I'll never forgive the paparazzi. Just when this film couldn't get any more perfect, there's a fucking monologue about Princess Diana's death by her cousin.
Yeah. Well,
Would it be a cousin?
Cousin-in-law.
I mean, royal family, they're all inbred. Who knows?
Yeah. But the funny thing is, this is only like 4 years removed.
Yeah.
From her death. So it's not like, obviously we're having a giggle now, but that must have been a bit on the nose at the time. Like, too soon?
Do you think anyone from the royal family has seen this film?
Yeah, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he had quite the tartan video collection back in the day.
Richard sings to Shizui about how great she is before telling her he needs money to get to England to see Auntie Elizabeth. But then he starts flying.
He does.
Jinpai is watching this with his plank of wood.
Yeah.
And he clocks Richard for what he's trying to do. So Richard gets a nosebleed. He then starts singing about his cock, and Jinpai hits him over the head, which causes him to shit out the guest house ashtray, which he had hidden up his ass.
And I must say, he must douche very well because it's very clean.
It's very clean.
Very clean.
Seriously, this is genuinely the past 10 minutes might be the 10 of the funniest minutes ever put on screen. I can't even explain why. It's just so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. So out of nowhere.
Imagine if Will Ferrell was doing that.
It wouldn't be funny. Yeah. It's just so silly. And it gets even more ridiculous when Shizui swing kicks Richard down a hill. And as he's trying to attack Jinpai, but as he's going over, because the on the edge of a cliff, as he's going over the edge of the cliff, he grabs Jinpai, and they both go down as they transform into clay.
Yeah, so we're back to the claymation because they obviously didn't want to kill any actors off.
Like, I think Richard could have done it. He definitely could have done it.
Richard may have been able to do it. I don't think Grandpa could have.
No.
I don't think that would have been safe for him.
He tries killing Jinpai, but Shizui kicks a rock onto his head and sends him falling to what we think is his death.
Yes.
And then we get Shizui like, all men are arseholes. Mum, why did you even marry Dad?
Yeah.
And Teru says she married him because she saw him shining shoes in his underwear, and that made her want to cook for him forever. What the fuck?
That's true love.
It's true love.
Love. That's, yeah. You can't explain it, apparently.
What's hilarious here is that in the Quiet Families, when the guy gets killed off the cliff, comes back. It's made to look like a very intense scene. Um, this here is the complete opposite. Richard comes back to the guest house, all beaten and bloody, and he calls up a number whilst apologizing to a bunch of random names before he dies.
I'm assuming these are the people that he cheated
Yeah.
before he died. Hilariously, he gets Shizui's name wrong
Yeah.
before dying. I think he just calls her a completely random name. Like, final apologies to you, Sandra. Not my name.
She tells all of her family that he was a member of the royal family. But Genpai searches his clothes and finds tissues from the Dial a Date Club at the station. The Dial a Date Club.
Dial a Date Club.
They had their own branded.
2001.
They had their own branded tissues.
Yeah.
A label stating
when you couldn't get a date.
Well,
dial.
A label stating his outfit is a film studio rental costume, and the wallet belonging to the guy who committed suicide.
Oh. Proving Masayuki's innocence.
Yes.
Because the family did suspect that potentially he had, because of his criminal past, killed the gentleman and stolen his wallet.
A sad-looking family show up asking for a room, whilst the daughter of the family plays the flute.
Yeah, they're caught out in a terrible storm.
Yeah.
So that's where they're looking, and she's... Is it a flute or is it a recorder?
Maybe a recorder.
It's a recorder. Oh.
Yeah, and it's like,
do you
really
remember every kid back in the day had a recorder. And they had to, because it was like the simplest instrument to be taught at school, and it sounds awful. I'm sure there are people out there who can make a recorder sound beautiful. They weren't at my primary school. And they certainly aren't in this film either, I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds like creepy horror music.
Yeah.
At first, and it's like thunder and lightning, and you don't know who's at the door.
Thunder and lightning?
Thunder.
Oh, thunder and lightning.
You don't know.
Thunder.
Yes. You don't know who's at the door, and they come in. It's just a family looking really sad. Shizui like, no, that family looks suspicious. The mother of the family is then like, have you got any strong cord we can borrow?
Yeah.
So we cut to Genpai and Masayuki digging a big hole in preparation to bury the family. But they show up alive.
Yeah. To their surprise, the family are close by, watching them dig the hole before the family go off on their merry way.
The daughter's still playing the flute. The recorder.
Yes.
And the son has the cord.
Might be a flute.
Same thing. The son has the cord that they requested as a belt.
Like Mo.
Yeah. they're like, what's the hole for? And Genpai says, it's for garbage. And they thank them and then just go about the day.
Yes. The hole doesn't go unused though, does it, Gary?
No. A man in a suit with flowers dives into the hole whilst an earthquake erupts nearby, which leads to the corpses emerging from the ground and coming back to life as the Katakuris perform Always Look on the Bright Side.
Which isn't the Monty Python song.
No, it
just
better.
happens to have the same. It is better, yes.
The zombies also join in with the choreographed dance number. It's giving Linnea Quigley's horror workout.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me it isn't.
It is. / thriller, of course. Well, I think thriller was the reference here. So funny to watch these zombies dance to a song about positivity and moving forward and learning from past mistakes. The zombies absolutely know a banger. When they hear one, they join in.
Yeah.
It's high camp.
And I think what's even more camp is the fact that the actors pointed out on the documentary is that they're not trained dancers. No. They're not pop stars.
No.
They're just trying their best. And seeing that and seeing how amateur it is just adds to why it's so funny and so camp.
Yeah.
When the song finishes, the corpses are back where they were before, and the guy from the hole has been put in a guest room. Now, there's one zombie scene in this, but what the tagline that annoys me about this film is, it's the sound of music meets Dawn of the Dead. I mean, It's not
It's
really.
no.
It's not really Dawn of the Dead with one zombie scene, is it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there's a better comparison you could make.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you'd want to say it's The Sound of Music meets The Quiet Family, but no one's going to get that.
But then even like the Sound of Music-y stuff is right at the end of the film.
It is. It is.
It's two little parts. Do you know, I wouldn't even compare it to anything else. And
no.
I understand
And that's the thing.
it's marketing 101 for films. Compare it to
a Western
film
audience.
from the producer of this, you know, is the picture, the outside code, Psycho, all that business.
Yeah.
I understand that's how they do it. It annoys me though because sometimes it's completely made up.
It is. Yeah.
It's not in this. I mean, there are little tidbits, but it kind of goes against what makes the film so great.
Yeah.
Which is it's not comparable to anything else. It's its own thing.
Yeah.
It's even if it's a remake, it's still completely so much out there that it isn't comparable to anything else.
No. The police show up whilst the guy from the hole panics and grabs a knife. The earthquake shakes the house as Genpai, Maso, and Masayuki sing a song about who should confess and take the blame for the buried corpses.
Yes, Grandpa, because he's an elderly gentleman, says that he should, as he's lived his life.
It's funny because they haven't killed anyone.
No.
They've completely made this worse for themselves the entire time. Genpai tries telling the police to arrest him, but they just walk straight past him because they're after a man who's killed his wife. The killer thereafter is the guy from the hole, and he walks outside of the guest house holding Teru at knife point. Maso begs the killer not to take Teru, so he lets her go before running towards Maso with the knife, but Masayuki jumps in the way and is, so we believe, stabbed before the police arrest the killer.
Wow.
Really sad moment.
Very sad moment.
Masu and Teru sing about how precious their son is before he says his goodbyes, with the last one being, "Sis, you're quite a babe, so keep trying."
Just nice, you know.
Yeah.
Keep trying. You'll find the right man one day.
They all realise it was actually just a graze, and he survives after all that.
They realise that he's in fact okay.
At this point, Takashi Miike is like, I've got a couple of minutes left of a film. It's ended there, but I mean, what could I do now, you know? So we go back to claymation.
We do.
The volcano erupts again.
Yeah.
Pochi, the dog, rides down the lava on a branch.
Is this white lava as well?
White lava.
I don't... If we're talking about the circle of life, if we're talking about life and death and rebirth, the white volcano, I'm sure you can come to your own conclusion.
No pun
heavily intended.
Wow. So Pochi's riding on the River of Cum on a branch whilst grabbing hold of the killer. The ejaculation or the lava from the volcano goes over the house whilst they all hold hands in the circle surrounding it to protect it.
Yeah.
Film is truly bookended with two of the craziest scenes I've ever seen in any film ever.
It's out there. It's definitely out there.
Because it doesn't end there. They're back in live action.
Yeah.
The family and guest house have survived being covered in spunk. So they perform That's Happiness. Now
it's actually moved the house.
It's moved the house, yeah.
It's actually moved it to maybe a better location or away from all the pile up of dead bodies. And so the new location has a giraffe?
Yeah.
And an elephant? And all that bits and a rainbow?
Yeah. And it's the perfect place to film a tribute to The Sound of Music.
Yes.
Which is what we get here.
Yeah, they all hold hands. They run over the hills.
Yeah.
Very much like Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
Channeling their inner Maria.
Yeah.
The hills are alive. All that business. What is it you can't face? All that good stuff. And Sound of Music, one of my absolute favourites. So to see it referenced in this wacky horror musical. It's not jarring. What's a nicer term for jarring?
I mean, jarring. I'd say jarring still.
It is, but in a good way.
Yeah. The following year, in the exact same spot, Genpai drops dead. So they all celebrate. And that's the happiness of the Katakuris.
He doesn't drop dead. He doesn't.
Well, no, he shoots up to the sky.
Yeah, Yinru in her narration says, as they're all smiling and doing their Maria von Trapp shtick, she says, 1 year later, Grandpa dropped dead. And then he looks really sad, as if he's just been told he's got a year to live. And then he shoots up into the sky like a rocket. And everyone is so happy. And that's the end.
I think that's meant to be a celebration of life, but there's also no denying that is a group of people celebrating the grandpa just died.
Yeah.
So it's really weird to look at. And what a way to end the film.
What a way a fitting way. I mean, it was batshit from the start and batshit to the end. I love it. It's so out there. It's the height of entertainment.
Yeah.
And that's what I say. I said it time and time again. Everyone's probably really bored of hearing me say it, but I can forgive a lot of things in a film as long as you're entertaining me. Can't forgive everything, obviously. But I was entertained from start to finish. The songs, great. You know, the horror aspects, great. The humor, fantastic. You know, loved it. So out there. It's the kind of shit that I eat up, and it's the kind of shit, and again, you're sick of hearing me say this as well, but it's the kind of shit that Japan does really, really well. Yeah. Japanese cinema has a knack for these sort of comedies. Yeah. Is it for everyone? Absolutely not.
No.
Is it for me? Absolutely.
Yeah. It's definitely. It feels like it's tailor-made for what we enjoy. It's just like I said at the start of the episode. You know, this is my idea of what a perfect film should look like. It is everything I could want in a film, and it's with Takashi Miike. You know, there's still a lot we need to see, but my favorite often changes between this and Audition. Right now, in this moment, I'd say it's this, ever so slightly, but you know. He's a genius.
It's the sign of a great filmmaker that something like Audition, which has a little humour to it, but it's very dark film. Yeah. And something like this, which is much, much lighter in tone, are still expertly crafted and really well made and just as good as each other. And it's a sign of a fantastic filmmaker.
So let's give it some awards. Biggest Queen, I give it to Teru entirely because of that dress during the karaoke scene. I mean...
And the wig, completely agree. Yeah, it's such a serve. She's a loving and devoted mother and wife. And what a queen.
Biggest gasp, for me, it goes to the demonic cherub stealing the woman's uvula within the opening minutes. Like, I mean, why would you expect that?
I did go with the squished girlfriend reveal.
Yeah.
Bless her out.
Best dialogue goes to the Princess Diana monologue.
I went with similar. I said, by order of Queen Elizabeth, give me your mobile number.
And that's camp. It has to be the first dead body discovery with the choreographed dance routine and the poses.
That's camp. I went with karaoke.
Yeah.
The karaoke scene.
Ratings, I give it 10 tissues from the Dial a Date Club at the station out of 10.
I give it 10 completely unexplained attacks of Code Brown out of 10.
Masterpiece, trash, basic, or a camp or bunch of fun. It is a masterpiece.
Yes, I completely agree. It's a masterpiece.
It's available on DVD, Blu-ray, and video on demand. And if you enjoyed this, check out The Legend of the Stardust Brothers.
If you enjoyed this, check out Visitor Q, a more intense Miike film about family, but just as out there.
Yeah, somehow still tries to pass as a comedy.
Yes.
If you would like to tell us about how much you love this film, then we are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and Gazcruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like if on everything else. Also, check us out on Gas Horror Fest across all social media. If you're a filmmaker, if you are a minority filmmaker, and you have a new horror film you want to submit, it's your last chance. Submissions are open until the 14th of February.
Yes.
So, get your submissions in for the late deadline.
Yeah. Check us out on social media, on the website. If you've got a fantastic film that you're dying for us to see and to put on, let us know.
Next week, we continue Japanuary with a discussion about Evil Dead Trap, which surprisingly actually isn't an Evil Dead ripoff.
No, it's not. Fantastic horror film. Can't wait to speak on it.
Yeah. So we're back same time, same place next week.
Bye.